hindsight to lend insight to our recollections. Let's start at day one and the annual struggle for number one, the New Year's Day parade of college bowl games.
Tempe, Arizona, and the Fiesta Bowl, the first game of the day. Penn State's Kurt Warner outran USC's Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen with 145 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. The battle for the Roses was also decided by a runner, Washington's Jacques Robinson, whose performance helped continue the Pac-10's dominance over the Big Ten. This time, Iowa fell to the bullies from the West Coast as Robinson, a seldom-used freshman, picked his way through the Hawkeye defense for 102 yards. Down south, the Georgia Bulldogs and the Pitt Panthers seesawed back and forth for the early lead. Herschel Walker's 2 touchdowns helped give Georgia a 2017 edge before Pitt's desperate last drive began. 35 seconds left, 4th down and 5, and All-American Dan Marino goes long. Touchdown! John Brown has it, and the Cats have taken the Dogs out of the national title picture. Shuffling back, then hustling forth, Texas quarterback Robert Brewer runs through the Alabama defense in the play that turned the tide. A last-ditch Bama bomb diffused, denying Bear Bryant his first win ever over the Longhorns. But the big attraction of the New Year's Day was at night, and the moon over Miami crowned a new national champion, the Clemson Tigers. The hard-hitting Tiger defense hurt Nebraska by forcing 2 key fumbles, while holding the Huskers to about 60 yards passing on the whole game. The last time Clemson was undefeated was in 1900 when John Heisman, whose name adorns the famed football trophy, was the Tiger coach. And so when quarterback Homer Jordan tossed to All-American Perry Tuttle the ticket to the top, Clemson laid claim to the national title. And back home in Clemson, South Carolina, they popped the champagne corks for the 2nd night in a row. 9 days later, it was 86 degrees colder when the San Diego Chargers visited Cincinnati. And quarterback Ken Anderson actually thrived in the frost, passing his Bengals into an early lead. In the second quarter, everybody's all-pro tight end, Kellen Winslow, romped for a Charger score. But it was to be the only one of the day for San Diego. Despite a wind chill factor of 59 degrees below zero, Anderson's Aerials had the Bengals on their way to their first Super Bowl visit. A belated Christmas present for owner Paul Brown. The NFC final featured the traditional old style of Tom Landry's Dallas Cowboys against the radical new San Francisco 49ers, led by quarterback Joe Montana. Tony Hill scored on this early pass, but Bill Walsh's troops demonstrated early on that they have the ability to improvise. Montana to Dwight Clark. Touchdown, San Francisco. Danny White's 4th quarter pass set the stage for the dramatic finish. It was 27-21 when Walsh's troops began their final assault. Starting on their own 11, the 49ers moved steadily downfield, 3 times converting critical 3rd down plays. The ball was on the 6th, 3rd down again, and time to improvise. Montana rolling to the right, throws it, touchdown, and on to the Super Bowl. Euphoria sweeps San Francisco like it hasn't since, well, 1849. The heroics were replayed endlessly, but whatever your point of view, it was Joe Montana scrambling and Dwight Clark leaping and the play of the year. And now, how about some January numbers? Like 28 feet 1 inch for Carl Lewis, America's world-class track and field performer, who lengthened his indoor world record in the long jump. $1.6 million for Jackie Sherrill to coach the Texas A&M Aggies. And then number 44, the newest Angel.
Of having worn the pinstripes, worn the NY, having played in front of some super baseball fans, and honestly felt like I became a part of New York toward the end of my career.
In hockey, the number was 99 for Wayne Gretzky, who didn't get a new team, but on his 21st birthday, the Edmonton Oilers gave their superstar $21 million to be paid over the next 15 years. The NBA season passed the midway point with few surprises amongst the leaders. And finally, Mary Decker-Tabb returned to indoor competition after a one-year hiatus and set a new women's record in the indoor mile.
One of the saddest sports notes of the year was the death in January of one of America's foremost sports writers, Red Smith, famous for his literary style and his splendid inability to shy away from controversy.
The free agency is the greatest thing since girls, the greatest thing that's happened to baseball since they set the bases 90 feet apart.
Red Smith wrote about sports for more than 50 years. His was an incisive, insightful style flavored with a love of subject matter, sports, and a great knack for capturing the character of the athletes he wrote about. His loss is a tremendous one.
We'll return in a moment.
This week on the Sunday Movie Classic, Gene Kelly and Leslie Caron star in An American in Paris.
This is Paris, and I'm an American who lives here. I'm a painter. All my life, that's all I've ever wanted to do. Oh, I have a lot of good friends in Paris.
Join us Sunday night at 10:30 for An American in Paris, this week's Sunday Movie Classic on 36.
If you're in the business of selling something that's expensive, you should know that the people with the highest incomes consider television advertising to be the most influential advertising. The more people can afford what you sell, the more they respect television's role in influencing their spending. Television, the medium that works for you because it reaches people like you.
Call KTVV TV 36 at 476-3636. Andy Warhol, Jasper Johns, Klaus Oldenburg. Works by 32 of America's leading artists. From the New York Gallery of America's most influential art dealer, Castelli and his artist. An exhibition at Laguna Gloria Art Museum, 3805 West 35th through February 13th. Castelli and his artists, the exhibition of a lifetime. Admission is free.
Although we probably don't pay much attention to it, all of us call people by names sometimes. But most of the time, they're just harmless nicknames. Like when you call a taxi cab driver a cabbie, for instance. But sometimes they're not so harmless. And when you call people names that are based on their race, their heritage, or their religious beliefs, you hurt them, but you also hurt yourself. Do your part to make this world a better place for all people, huh? Don't be prejudiced. It just isn't fair.
Prejudice is something America can do without.
While January marks the beginning of the calendar year, it is also the conclusion of the football season. But what a conclusion it is. The Super Bowl, Cincinnati versus San Francisco. The opening kickoff did not bode well for football purists or 49er fans. But the biggest game of the year turned out to be two games. And as 49er defensive star Dwight Hicks will tell you, the first one was all 49ers. The hero was the improviser, 49er quarterback Joe Montana, who employed all of Bill Walsh's tactics in completing 12 first-half passes and taking to the big sky himself. Whether on the ground or in the air, Montana led the fairy tale 49ers to a huge halftime lead. But the 49ers celebration seemed a bit premature. When the second half or second game got underway, Ken Anderson provided some points and some inspiration for his Chargers. The Bengal defense held the 49ers without a first down in the third quarter, and Anderson's long toss to rookie Chris Collinsworth brought Cincinnati within a sniffing range of another score. Then the 49er defense woke up. The incredible goal line stand only briefly stalled Cincinnati as Dan Ross's touchdown early in the fourth quarter closed the gap to 2014. But again, the 49er defense arose from its slumber. Eric Wright picked off the decisive pass, and while his improvisation was questionable, it all worked out for the best. The 49ers started celebrating for real, and so did the city that they call home.
Come home to you, San Francisco.
my favorite part of the scrapbook. Each month, we're going to elect a performer of the month, and then finally, the top performer for the whole year. Now, since it's my scrapbook, I guess you know all about the voting committee. Now, to my mind, January is Super Bowl month, and so my first performer of the month is the triumphant quarterback who keeps his heart in San Francisco, namely Joe Montana.
While Montana was the MVP of the football Super Bowl, February devotes its attention to other events like the Super Bowl of stock car racing, the Daytona 500 won by Bobby Allison. Meantime, the AAU announces that the Sullivan Award for the top amateur athlete was given to Carl Lewis, whose versatility invites comparisons to an American legend.
Everyone has talked to me about being the next Jesse Owens, and it's something to look forward to because if people feel that way about me, that makes me feel good because of the people that they're putting me in, the class people that I'm being put into, the same category. But as an athlete, you feel that you have a certain duty you have to serve to the public.
Carl's duty is to run faster and jump higher. The top women's track star is Mary Decker-Tabb, who continued her domination of the women's running events. Indoors, her mile of 4:20 and 5 was the best. But indoors or out, Mary Decker-Tabb has been winning major track competitions for the past 9 years. Rolling right along, Earl Anthony made history as the first bowler ever to earn $1 million. And slick fielding shortstop Ozzie Smith became a St. Louis Cardinal to the delight of manager Whitey Herzog. On the downside, Boston College's Rick Kuhn became a convicted felon when the hoopster received a 10-year sentence for sports bribery.
In January, Wayne Gretzky turned 21 years old. In February, with nearly 2 months to go in the season, the amazing Gretzky, as they call him, broke Phil Esposito's NHL record that many thought would stand forever.
It was just another regular season game for Gretzky's Edmonton Oilers until the brilliant center broke through the Buffalo defense and beat goalie Don Edwards. With the legendary Esposito looking on, goal number 77 was scored, and before he was done, the amazing Gretzky would tally 92 goals. Here's a question from an old scrapbook. This 1955 match race was won by the first horse ever to cross the $1 million barrier. Who was he? Racing's first millionaire, Nashua, with Arcaro aboard, beating Swaps in 1955. The $1 million horse died in February of '82. Now, back to the present edition of the George Plimpton Scrapbook. The National Hockey League All-Star Game features the amazing you-know-who in the dark shirt, but Mike Bossy of the white shirt scores 2 goals to decide that exhibition. Much more entertaining was the controversy involving L.A. Kings winger Paul Mulvey, who refused to leave the bench and brawl when ordered to by his coach, Don Perry. Perry got a brief suspension, Mulvey a ticket to the minors for his ethics. Golfer Jim Simon shot a final round 66 to earn 50,000 clams in the Bing Crosby Pro-Am. In contrast, Billy Olson got nothing but the thrill of his life, vaulting higher than anyone has ever gone indoors. The height was 18 feet 9 1/4 inches, and the replay reveals there wasn't much room to spare. Still, Olson set his sights on 19 feet. In boxing, a potential tragedy. Sugar Ray Leonard, one of America's most beloved sports heroes, suffers a serious eye injury, one that puts his fistic future career in question.